Hi, my name is Lisette Rios and I am a dietetics student. Today we're going to be talking about the carnivore diet and we're also going to be analyzing the book The Carnivore Code by Paul Saladino. As I mentioned, this is the book we're going to be analyzing, The Carnivore Code by Paul Saladino. To begin, I'm going to give a baseline definition of what the carnivore diet is. So a carnivore diet is usually going to consist of only eating meat, fish, or other animal-based foods, including eggs and dairy. But with that, you're going to exclude all other food groups. That includes vegetables, fruits, grains, nuts, and seeds. So Saladino talks about his own experience with the carnivore diet, and there's different variations of the carnivore diet, but he followed a very intense one, which you can find in the book. He only ate organs and grass-fed ground beef. But he claims that this diet cured him of asthma and severe eczema. He also believes that vegetables and tap water are loaded with toxins and carbs, and this quote is from his book claiming these beliefs. This information can be found both in the book and in his website. So the book was actually published February 18th, 2020, but a revised edition came out in August 4th, 2020. So who is Paul Saladino, the author of this book? What are his credentials? Well, he's a double certified medical doctor. He graduated from medical school at the University of Arizona. He completed his residency at the University of Washington. And after residency, he attained a board certification as a physician nutrition specialist. So with all of this knowledge, he claims that he has been able to use the carnivore diet to reverse autoimmune issues, chronic inflammation, and mental health issues in his patients. And you may have heard of him. He's notorious for his YouTube videos, podcasts, and social media outreach, where he is very adamant about the carnivore diet. Attached is an image of one of his podcasts. You can find it on Spotify. Interestingly enough, Paul Saladino, the carnivore medical doctor, what he is known for, promoting that aggressive all-meat diet, quit it. Now, how do we know this? He went on YouTube, he did podcasts, he did interviews where he claimed that there was adverse effects from this diet. And he also states that ketosis is probably not a great thing for most humans. Now, some of these bad and adverse side effects that he saw was drops in his testosterone, he had sleep disturbances, heart palpitations, and muscle cramps. So now with that being said, this is going to affect how credible the book really is. Paul Saladino does make a health claim. He does not claim that humans are not omnivores. He does think that omnivores are misunderstood, and most omnivores are going to specialize, whether that be that they're focusing on animal sources or food plants, but humans are going to tend to lean towards the animal side of being an omnivore. So based on this claim, he argues that humans evolved as carnivores and rarely eat plants. However, that does not mean that humans are not omnivores. It just means that there's a preference to animal sources. So this book has many purposes, and this is all to argue towards the carnivore diet. For example, he's going to provide history and how we've evolved, and that's why our preference is toward these animal sources, these animal foods. It also impacts on our individual genetics and our susceptibility to different types of plant toxins. And with that being said, the different spectrum of plant toxicity, and it also assures us the safety of a meat-based diet because he is going to debunk common myths surrounding the potential harms of this diet. He also explores different forms of an animal-based diet, emphasizing that there's a diversity and adaptability to the human dietary pattern. He's kind of teaching you how to meal plan towards this. He also advocates for regenerative agriculture and proper animal raising because he thinks this will be very beneficial for the environment and long-term soil health. But ultimately, he is emphasizing the importance of considering our sources of nutrition. Think about where our food is coming from, where our nutrients are coming from, and this is going to be how we reach that optimal human health. The book does claim that present-day hunter-gatherers societies are free from chronic diseases. This includes diabetes, depression, and dementia. He thinks that these illnesses are preventable and they're reversible, hypothetically speaking, with the carnivore diet, and that also these people that are focusing on hunter-gathering will also spend less time working for their food than farmers, so they're going to have more free time. It's an argument that is also made in the book. At the end of this book, there is a very long list of references which is backing up what he claims. For example, humans are evolved as carnivores and we only eat plants as fallback foods, which means that we're only going to eat these plants, fruits, vegetables, grains to avoid starvation. We're going to rely on animal sources. However, when we don't have access to these animal sources, then we're going to fall back to our plant sources. And because of that, meat is associated with better health outcomes. Another claim that he makes is that dietary fiber is not helpful for constipation and that high LDL cholesterol on a carnivore diet is not harmful. So apparently, according to this book, there's references that are backing up what he said. However, I will also cite some other articles that are debunking what he stated in his book. When you are on this diet, you do have to restrict certain food groups. You're going to avoid fruits, you're going to avoid vegetables. You're also going to avoid grains because it is thought that the human body is not adapted to eat grains. So in conclusion, you're basically only eating animal foods. They are considered best for our health, and they are far more superior than plant foods, and they contain many more nutrients and fewer more toxics. Here is an image with what you can eat, meat and animal products, and what you shouldn't be eating, fruits, vegetables, and grains. It's mostly going to be because there's carbohydrates in these, there's carbs and grains. You're trying to avoid that in this diet. With that being said, would I try this diet? Would I recommend this diet? I wouldn't try it, and I would not recommend it. The reason being, there's little known about the health impacts of the carnivore diet, and truly the only direct evidence available is anecdotes, stories that people tell, their success stories. So it's not clear that the diet is truly beneficial, and there could be unknown long-term risks. Additionally, there may be cardiovascular impacts on their diet due to the LDL, which I will get into. And also, the diet delivers less than optimal amounts of several essential micronutrients because you're only consuming these animal products. There is a section in this book titled Fiber for Fat Loss. This section is claiming that fiber is not helpful for weight loss. And this quote says, carbohydrates that accompany plant fiber are also likely to cause spikes of insulin and other satiety-impairing hormones like GLP-1, leading to augmentation of hunger cues rather than decreasing them. Now, GLP-1 is actually considered a satiety hormone, increasing satiety, so it means that it's increasing that feeling of fullness, making it effective for weight loss because since you feel full, you're not going to feel the need to continue and eat more. And there was a study done which says fiber has been widely studied for its role in promoting satiety and satiation, meaning that it is actually very effective for weight loss, especially if you're finding good sources of fiber in grains. Another claim that he makes is, well, my LDL cholesterol rise on a carnivore diet. And he states, LDL doesn't rise for everyone who eats this way, but for many people, LDL will rise, and that's probably a good thing. This is a very dangerous idea. Your LDL rising is generally not a good thing. High cholesterol promotes cardiovascular disease. A study claims that elevated levels of NLR and LDL, HDL, are strongly linked to the severity of coronary artery stenosis. This book claims that LDL levels may be beneficial and that insulin resistance may accelerate the impact of high LDL on cardiovascular disease. But this book doesn't present any evidence that the carnivore diet decreases insulin sensitivity. And another study by Najjar in 2023 claimed that plant-based diets have been strongly tied to a reduction in cardiovascular disease. In contrast, animal food consumption may increase cardiovascular disease. The whole purpose of the carnivore diet is to be less susceptible to cardiovascular disease. However, having these high levels of cholesterol is already putting you at risk because you are consuming high amounts of animal products. In conclusion, the carnivore diet, alt meat diet, animal sources diet is advocated by Paul Saladino, the double certified medical doctor, who claims that it is used to reverse autoimmune issues, chronic inflammation, and mental health issues. However, his personal experiences and even quitting the diet suggest potential adverse effects. So although the diet emphasizes the consumption of animal-based foods, it's essential to note that very little is known about this actual diet and its health impacts, especially long-term. The limited evidence available is primarily in the form of stories, people's success stories, and caution is advised when considering the carnivore diet due to the lack of comprehensive information about its benefits and also its potential risk. So I would always go to your medical doctor, double check, and the most important thing is finding a diet or finding moderation that works for you and your goals. Here are my references for the articles and the studies that were used to debunk the myths by Paladino, and also the book cited in case you would like to read it.